So guys, I was shooting with the Sony a7R III, Samyang 35mm f1.4, utilising as much light as I could, and shooting around about ISO 2000 or thereabouts, sometimes lower, sometimes higher. Really pleased on how it was working, and as you can see, there's plenty of light there. It's just all ridiculously bright in orbs, just flames, you know, one of the two, so flares to torches to flashing LEDs and things like that. So what you're seeing here is actually the GoPro Hero 7 Black. I had it on the chest mount thing, and just allowed me to video a bit while I was actually taking pictures. That's why you see the camera go up and down above my head. I was trying to keep the camera up and out of the way. As you can see, the shots here working really nicely, silhouette shots, but all shot manually. So really pleased on how that was going. Autofocus system was working absolutely fine, even in thick smoke, sort of the fog that was happening, and no issues whatsoever. So really pleased with that. Shooting at 10 frames per second with no issues either. And the only thing I did do was mess up the autofocus a few times, and you know, so that was a bit of a pain. But yeah, worked really well. So quite pleased with that. As you can see here, lots of people. I'm not sure how many thousands of people were there. Don't know how many. If it was more than 1,000 people marching, not really sure there. As you can see, there's lots going on. I did have a press pass, but actually decided not to actually use it, so I could have gone down in the crowd where you see the guys there with the press. I just had a good sort of view where I was, and it allowed me to sort of get shots like this. Utilising the a7R III as well, and having a wide, very fast lens on, where they were using sort of 70-200 f2.8s and things like that, or 105 f4s and things like that. I think some of the press guys were using. That's why they needed flash guns. Because I was using a 35mm f1.4, could let as much light in as possible. But because I've got 43 megapixels to mess around with, I can actually crop in double. So I've sort of got 35 to 70mm, you know, sort of play around ability. So worked really well for what I needed. So guys, back to the which is better, mirrorless or a DSLR. For me, the mirrorless is now definitely better than a DSLR, and a lot of people are going to disagree with that because they love their DSLRs. The main difference for myself is, and it's just a personal view, and you can take it two different ways. You either agree with me or don't. I mean, it's up to you. It's not an argument. It's just my thoughts. The mirrorless allows me to be so much more efficient than it was with the DSLRs, or even the SLRs back in the old days of film. You can get the job done that much easier, more efficiently, quicker, and a little bit more accurately, straight out, without doing too many test shots. This shot here was actually, there was 3 images I took of this, and the first one was a bit too bright, and I could see that, so I was adjusting it up one more, took one more, and then took another one. Because I'm using an EVF looking through on a screen, I can see exactly what I'm going to get, even at ridiculous explosions and stuff happening there. But obviously on the DSLR, unless you're using live view, which obviously they're generally a little bit clunky and a little bit slower to react than the mirrorless systems, you're relying on your light meter and things like that. You're hoping for the best a lot of the time, because you don't know how big that explosion is going to be. And that explosion started, and I'm actually seeing exactly what's going on, and I can see, oh Christ, that's a bit too bright. Let's speed the shutter speed up a little bit, you know, to deal with it. Or the depth of field is too shallow. That's just, you know, shut the lens down slightly. It's stuff like this. This shot here, that flare was so bright. That shot there was an 1/8,000th of a second at f4. I had to quickly change that from f1.4 down just to get it right. But obviously I could see what was going on, so it made a real big difference. And then this shot here back to f1.4. But it just, for me, it just makes my life a lot easier. When you've got a lot of knowledge about photography in the first place, and you don't need to think so much before you actually take the image. Where in the old days, when you first start, you're sort of like, oh, what aperture do you think I need? You know, oh, no, it's too shallow, or, you know, too deep. You know, you're learning, so, you know, you make mistakes, or, you know, even commercially, I've made mistakes, and I'm sure a lot of professionals out there have still made mistakes, because you wish you'd actually open the lens up too much, so your depth of field wasn't quite deep enough, and you just needed to stop it down slightly just to get everything just in focus that you wanted, and I've messed it up. Now it's a case of, it's so easy to get what you want to see right, and it makes a huge difference with that. I know you've got depth of field previews on both cameras, that, you know, that I do use that. But it's more to do with the exposure and how that's live and how easy it is to actually get you the image. Especially if you're using a Zeiss Batis lens as well, which has got the measurement system on it, on the OLED screens, which actually gives you the distance to your subject that you're focused on, but also, depending on what your f-stop is, it actually gives you your depth of field front and rear of that focus point. So you could have, say if you're shooting f1.4 or an f2 or something like that, and it would show you've got maybe 1 inch or 1 centimeter in focus, 1 centimeter in front of your subject, and maybe half a centimeter from behind. Or if you stop the lens down, suddenly you've got 10 centimeters either side. So it works really well in that case of, you know, that sort of scenario. So, you know, but this evening where I went out and took these photos and a little bit of video, they're just all snaps. It was just for fun. But to try and be a little bit creative and try and capture some, you know, interesting moments, which I did. There's a few shots that I really like, and hopefully you do too. The shots, I didn't take that many in all, which I was quite pleased about, because obviously I could turn them around relatively quickly and actually edit them and everything. There's a couple of shots there with the Thunderbird coming out of the explosion. As you can see, the first shot is really quite bright and overexposed, and then I stop it down, and you can see as I'm adjusting it up. But that's how bright the explosions can be, and it's easy to blow your image out. You know, so that's how handy it is to actually have that. This shot here is actually onto a different camera now, the Sony RX10 Mark IV. So it's a shot around about 400mm from its 600mm maximum at f4, ISO 100, and it's at 500 frames per second. And that's just some fireworks going up and exploding, but it's almost like being in space. So it's almost like the stars are moving, or, you know, maybe you're travelling, you know, through space or something. And it's kind of that kind of feel, which is kind of cool. And it worked really well. A few little explosions here or there, all slowed down by, I'm not sure how many times it would be, but at 500 frames per second, it's quite slow, or very high speed, which obviously gives you a very slow moving object like that firework there exploding, and that one there. That would have gone by now. And then some more. I did quite a few of these, but it's actually quite difficult focusing on fireworks, because it's dark, there's nothing to see, and then suddenly they're up. So to focus on the fireworks and then do the sort of recording of the high speed recording part of the video kind of thing, that doesn't make sense, but you know what I mean. So basically you push the button. I use the looping system quite a lot, so just in case it wasn't what I wanted to see, I can ignore it and let it carry on, and then when I see something good, I just push the record button, and then it then it records the last previous 3.5 to 7 seconds, depending on what mode I've got it in. Yeah, so for stuff like this, it's really, really good. Never done fireworks before in slow motion. Did a bit of lightning a while ago, and that worked really well. But with high speed stuff, you do need lots of light, and obviously fireworks are quite bright, so it's worked quite well. And this one shot here was just straight out of the camera, and that was quite nice. And then obviously it was 100 years since the First World War, or the Great War, had finished. So I've just added on the little 1 minute video here. So enjoy, and please remember, and I'll speak to you soon. Please subscribe and keep watching.